Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Open Discussion Podcast. I have a very special guest. I don't know if it's a special guest, man. It's my brother here, from another mother here, man. Commander Sam retired, Jelani Edwards. When you think of the FA community, his name rings volume. So, a couple of days ago, I talked to an old friend of ours for fun, who knows you, and I said, Edwards. He said, man, I know Edwards, man. Who don't know that guy? A couple of years ago, I think back 2018, 2017, and every time I pop up, I see his name on something. I said, I got to call this guy and see who he is, and then we'll link up. And since we'll link up, man, it's been a blessing for me from you. Thanks for your mentorship, your friendship, your brotherhood. Every time we talk, man, I learn something from you. I really appreciate you, man. Thanks a lot for being on the show. Over 29 years of active service, U.S. Army, man, 29 years. And last served prior to you transitioning, right? He last served as a Sergeant Major over the Mission Command Center of Excellence, Nominative level. And then he currently served as the South Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs, Midland Regional Integration Officer. Man, that's a big title out there. I guess some big bucks comes with it. I don't know, but 29 years of service, man, brother. I appreciate your service. Thanks for what you do, man. Yes, well, I said 29 years of military service, man. I just want to go back from the beginning, how it all started, for a man or woman to serve over 20 years in the military, giving your life and sacrifice, not just include your family life and everything else, man. It speaks volumes. So just want to start from the beginning, man, on how it started. What really encouraged you, influenced you to join the military and say, I want to serve my country?
Yeah, well, I will tell you, and I told you before when we spoke that I was going to keep it real with you because a lot of people don't understand that people do have stories, and I have a story. All right, and I always mess around as I tell people. I use the word his story, so his story is broken down into his story, which is my story.
Yeah.
And the Army was nothing that I wanted, something I wanted to do as a 17, 18-year-old. But being born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, it was tough. Poverty-stricken area, a lot of drugs, a lot of gangs, and it was tough. And so I tell people, the Army was the best decision that was ever made for me, because as a young pup, I was pretty wild and out of control, and not having parents at that time in my life supporting me, I tend to I went rogue as a young teenager. And so I ended up getting into a lot of trouble. Out in Baltimore. And so when I say that the Army was the best decision that someone made for me, because it's the truth. I had a judge. I got arrested at the age of 17 years. I was 17 years old in 10 months. And I got arrested, and the judge told me what I could have faced, which was a lot of years in jail, or he told me to look in the back of a courtroom, and there was three people back there. There was an Army guy, there was a Marine, and there was an Air Force. And he said, you pick that person. If you pick them, you can go into the service or you can go to jail. So it was like a no-brainer for me, right? And so I looked back there in the back of the courtroom, and I saw this Army gentleman by the name of Sergeant First Class Brown. And Sergeant First Class Brown, he administered me the ASVAB test, and I went to Fort Jackson the next day to start basic training. And so, what people don't know is when I went into basic training, I got 2 Article 15s. I got 1 Article 15 for fighting. It was a young trainee from North Dakota, and he called me a racist word. And so I ended up getting into a fight with him. Got an Article 15, but back then when you're a trainee, you don't even understand what that commander's telling you at that moment, and those drill sergeants behind you. And so a couple days later, after getting my first Article 15, I ended up getting my second Article 15 because I struck at a drill sergeant. And I was in a bad place at that time because, all the drill sergeants were surrounding me, all in my face. And I went back to my roots of Baltimore, which was fight, right? Or as you kind of get older, they say it's that fight or flight, right? Fight or flight. And so I was more fight. And so, I swung at a drill sergeant. Then the drill sergeants kind of manhandled me for a while. I can't lie. Then I ended up getting that second Article 15. I really could have got court-martialed, to be honest with what I know now. And so when I got my first Army paycheck, my first Army paycheck was $12.34. $12.34. And I told myself, why am I even here? I'm not making any money. I can go back to the streets, you know. But through God, right, he always mysteriously puts people in your life at the time that you need it. And I'll tell you what happened. I was going to go AWOL, not going to go. I was going AWOL that night after I got my paycheck of $12.34. And just so happened, as I'm walking down on my way out of Fort Jackson, I hear this sound. It was a drill sergeant. What I know now, the drill sergeant was in the smoking area. We didn't know that back when we were trainees. And so I'm sneaking out of there, and he stops me. He was from Philadelphia. His last name was Jackson. And he told me he could connect with me because he understood what that inner city life was,
Yeah.
me being from Baltimore, him being from Philly. And he told me the different ways that the Army was good for him and his family and what it did for him to get him out of Philly. And he had my attention. He had my attention. And then he also told me that he was going to make me a PG, a platoon guy. I said, Drill
Mm.
Sergeant Jackson, that's the last thing you want to do. The last thing. Because I'm not Army like some of these guys. He said, you as a basketball captain, you know, you played Division I basketball, like, you know, you can do this. And he ended up giving me that title of PG.
Yeah.
And what I had to do initially, because once everybody found out that I was going to be their PG, everybody laughed and didn't want to work. But what I had to do was establish trust
Yeah.
with all the 48 IAT trainees that was there with me. And so I took time out to, one, individually get to know each one, make them tick, strengths and weaknesses. And then our platoon we started doing very well because once I built that trust and they knew I was going to be a member of their team, they went all out. They were all in for what we were doing. And we ended up winning almost every single prize in basic training, every guidon, every award, which was a testament to that Drill Sergeant Jackson for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself, seeing potential in me when I didn't see potential in myself. And so things like that have always kept me in the Army, right? And so 29 years, I could talk about a lot of stuff, right? A lot of stuff. But I would like to have an opportunity to talk about some good times and some bad times, if that's okay.
Absolutely, because
Yes.
you just I think you just talk about the Dre song, right? Dre song, I believe you said Dre song Jackson and the impact he had on you. You know, my follow up question would be, how did that shape your life moving forward in terms of when you were given the opportunity, right, to be in leadership position or just being uniform after you graduate basic training with AIT? How did that shape you throughout your overall career, and how were you able to use some of the things that he told you to help somebody else out?
Absolutely. So Drill Sergeant Jackson, who I'm friends with to this day, was
Mm.
instrumental in Jelani Edwards being Jelani Edwards. Instrumental, because I could hear him in my ear when I feel like I'm about to go right, and he pushes me back left, right? And I let him know that to this day. Like, he was the biggest mentor for me at that time. He was exactly what I needed. And it goes back to, for me, it's like God puts people in your life for a reason. That
Yeah.
person was right there at the right time, at the right spot, right then. And so I appreciated him. And so he after I was with him in basic training, I went on to AIT, got distinguished honor grad in AIT. Something that I never thought I'd ever do, but I could just hear him telling me, work harder. Don't let anybody outwork you. Effort. No one can give more effort than you. Keep pushing. And that's exactly what I did. And so it kind of helped me because when I got to my first duty station, which was Bamberg, Germany, my
Mm.
first ever section chief in the Army was racist. And so
Mm.
when I got off of the plane in Germany, that was back in the day, no sponsorship. You know, they put me on a bus down to Bamberg from Frankfurt, and as soon as I get to Bamberg, I hear a leader, or that thereof. I heard a leader say my name, my last name. So I grab my books, my bags, excuse me. I run over there, and I get a hard parade rest. And the first thing out of his mouth was, "Shut the f up, get down."
What?
First thing I heard. And what happened was he smoked me for 45 minutes straight. Never said hello, welcome to Germany, anything. Just smoked me. Threw my bag. He showed me where my room was at. Threw my bags in my room. Threw my bags in my room and told me what time I needed to be at the next formation, and slammed the door behind him. For the first 6 months of having him as my section chief, what it made me do was go rogue. Started hanging out with the E4 Mafia. Started hanging out with folks that was getting chapted out the Army because I didn't care anymore. I had
Yeah.
this high leaving basic training AIT to come here to get this low, right? And sometimes I would miss formations because I didn't care and I didn't want to be there because the person that was leading me was racist. He would make all the black and brown soldiers later TA-50 out in the rain, storming rain, while all of the white soldiers lay theirs out in the barracks. Make us low crawl over rocks. When you're in a formation and it goes by rank, he would always put the black and the brown soldiers at the end, right? And it's funny because I won't say his name because some people might know of him.
Yeah.
But it's funny how things work, though. Z, this is crazy how things work. When I met him, he was a staff sergeant. I was an E0. And if you fast forward, through my time at Germany, I ended up getting a phenomenal section chief named Staff Sergeant, at that time, Staff Sergeant Nathan Evans, who took care of me, my family, the soldiers. He made us competent. He made us soldiers. He was what I thought a leader should be. Hence the reason why I wanted to go to Fort Bragg, right? But I'm going to fast forward you a little bit more. I left Fort Bragg, went and was a drill sergeant. Even got drill sergeant of the year out there in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. When I came off the trail, I went right back to Fort Bragg, even though that's not where I wanted to go. But I went right back to Fort Bragg to put my feet and knees back in the breeze. I get there. I'm a platoon sergeant for 18th Airborne Corps Artillery, and the sergeant major comes out there. We do our little salute, and I'm looking at the formation. I see somebody out there with their head down.
Uh-oh.
So I'm looking. I'm like, hey, man, I know that cat. And so I beeline towards him. This was one of the toughest decisions I ever had to make in the Army right now. Sam, one of the absolute toughest decisions I ever had to do. Because when I walked, it was Staff Sergeant X. The same
He was
one
still
who made
star
me low
sergeant.
crawl. The same. And now I'm a sergeant first class.
Yeah.
He's a staff sergeant. So, again, a business decision had to be made. Because on this shoulder, it said, Jelani, be the professional. Do what's right. But on this shoulder, he said, wear him out. Like you smoked you for 45 minutes and made you low crawl. You need to do that times 2. And I started listening to this guy for a second. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna max him out. I think I'm gonna max him out. But then I went back over here and he said, hey, do the right thing. And so what I did was I looked at him and I said, don't ever do anybody the way you did Jelani Edwards. You could have easily made me go off the reservation and the Army not be the life that I wanted the Army to be and be a career, right? You could have ruined that for me, right? So moving forward, never, and I mean never, treat a soldier with dignity and respect. You never know where that soldier's from, what that soldier's been through, and they're looking for you for guidance, education, right? And you didn't provide that as a leader. And he respected that. And he said, you're absolutely right. And we all knew what it was. He was an incompetent leader. And so he led by his rank.
That's his
He
default.
led by
That's
his
what it
rank
comes
was on
down
his
to.
chest.
That's his default. I mean, you just made a point here, man. I do believe something a lot of leaders somewhat underestimate or they just don't know, right? A service member first due to the station will have a profound impact on their career trajectory, no matter who you are.
Absolutely.
For me, I had a
Absolutely.
different experience. My first section chief back in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, was phenomenal. I went in there. He brought me in. We got the counseling going. I mean, I was welcomed pretty well. So it gave me a different perspective on the military because you and I can agree. From AIT, you have no idea what to expect. No idea. And for a leader to treat you like that, just a new person come to the organization like that, it give you a whole different perspective. And to some extent, the reason why a lot of guys and girls say, I'm just doing my couple years over or get out. I mean, I don't think if you ask me, guys or girls like that should never be in a leadership position. I should discuss moving forward. You went from where you were and then down to drill sergeant school, become a drill sergeant. I want to move ahead just a little bit more because one thing we don't really discuss so far is the key leadership position we had opportunity to serve in, how prepared were we prior to assuming the responsibility. There's no such thing as a platoon sergeant in school. Back in the day, you want to be knock, now it changed to a different kind of name, whatever the case may be. As you transition all the way up to a first sergeant position, What were some of the things that, in terms of from platoon sergeant or smoke man for our CMF, what were some of the things you believe that helped you to be successful as a platoon sergeant, then on into a first sergeant position?
Absolutely. So we'll start with the platoon sergeant position first, right? What helped me be successful as a platoon sergeant was one, building trust with my leaders in the organization as a platoon. Once I built that trust, engage, being approachable, and keeping folks informed. One thing I've always been big on is communicating. You can never over communicate because you want to make
Yeah.
sure that everybody that is every one of your subordinates understands the exact totality of what's going on, right? So, i.e., as a platoon sergeant, I would leave a training meeting. First thing I would do is bring the whole platoon together. The whole platoon, not just my NCOs. I would bring everybody together because I want them to hear it from me. And if they have any questions, they can pose them. So that way, we're all rowing in this. We're all in this boat together, and we're rowing. And I want everybody to be rowing the same way, right? And so that's what I did, and I carried that on to when I was a first sergeant. But now, I got a story for you.
Go
Uh,
ahead.
as a first sergeant, I was rocking and rolling. I mean, rocking my entry yards, number one, everything, rocking and rolling. But my girlfriend, then wife, you're gonna like this one, Sam. She knows that after work, I don't like to talk about Army. I want to come home and just be
Yeah.
Jelani, right? I like that. And so she invited me over. She invited me over to her house to eat. I get there, I'm eating my food, and she says, "Hey, I want to talk to you about something." I'm like, "What's up?" She's like, "It's work related." I'm like, "All right, what's up?" She's like, "At work, you're a bully." I
Mm.
said, "Excuse me?" She said, "At work, you are a bully. The way you talk to soldiers, the way you are a bully." And so I asked her for some aluminum foil. I wrapped my plate up and I went home. I was in my feelings, Z. Sam, I was in my feelings. Okay. I was in my feelings. And so I go home, I finish eating, and like all good leaders should do, which is called self-reflect, I'm
Flexion.
self-reflecting and I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I ask myself and I said, "Hey, Jelani, are you a bully at work?" That mirror said, "You damn right you are." And I will tell you, the reason why I was a bully at work is because the successful field artillery leaders that made it through, all T's crossed, all I's dotted. Boom. Everything had to be dressed right, dressed and ready front. That's what I saw, so that's what I
Yeah.
emulated. Was it good leadership? No. Some of it may have been. But what happened is I had, as a first sergeant, they were walking on eggshells because they knew if they didn't go win Soldier of the Month, NCO of the Month, I was going to wear them out, right? Everything had to be tight. And I had to take a step back. And I'm a type of person where if I say I'm going to fix something about myself, I can fix it right then. So I took some time out. I prayed over it. And that next day, I came in at the 6:30 formation PT, and I apologized to all 124 at that time that was in my firing battery. And I said, "I have not shown you what outstanding leadership is all about. I am not living the NCO creed the way it's all, but moving forward, I'm going to be the best damn leader you ever had. I promise you that." And I tell you, we were already getting results when I was the bully. But when I flipped that and became more approachable, I'm talking about results, Sam.
Yeah.
It was crazy because people knew, because I look at them and say, "It's okay if you make a mistake." If you can look at me and say, "Hey, First Sergeant, I thought what this was doing was right, but it kind of went back." It's okay. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Versus the Army that I grew up on, you're going to get on that red carpet, put your hands behind your back and get blown up, right? And I saw that and I'm like, that's not good leadership, man. No one's perfect. Let's sit down and talk about it. Let me develop you, right? Because that was the piece that was missing. Because I've only had one, and I say again, and I don't care who looks at this video, I've only had one true mentor my whole life, and that's when I became a first sergeant, and his name was Command Sergeant Major Campbell out of 18th FA Brigade, Sam Campbell.
Mm.
He invested in me. He saw the potential in me. I'm a FDC guy. He made me a first sergeant. I was the first one ever as a 13 Echo Delta to become a first sergeant in Fort Bragg, right? And change. He believed in me, so I worked my behind off for him. Absolutely. And he's been there with me all the way through, even through the nominative years. He's still at Fort Bragg right now as we speak. And he was a gentle giant. He was amazing. And so as a first sergeant, once I told my team, like I failed them from a leadership perspective, and I started teaching them more, man, I'm telling you, the results were just out of control, man. And people were like, how is this? How did you do that? Like, and it's because I truly cared, but I was doing what I saw, not what I should have been doing. And
Yeah.
so that was the ways that I became successful as a platoon sergeant in the first sergeant.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can attest to this, right? Just the evolution of leadership within the Army have changed. Because when you and I came in the military back in, 80s and 90s, whatever, the leaders we were facing, those guys and girls, were competent, not too professional to some extent, because that's what they know, really. So for you to say as a leader, I've conducted somewhat of a self-reflection. I can overall determine here. I need to go back and over apologize. I mean, you can agree, when you were coming up, what first sergeant command sergeant major say, hey man, I'm sorry for what I did. Because what you did is not, it didn't just change you as a person, but it changed that entire command climate profoundly, no matter what it is.
Absolutely.
And I used to tell, first sergeant that I work alongside, I say, hey, you have to understand that you are not perfect. You know what I'm saying? You let the organization know, hey, I made a mistake. And this is why I made the mistakes. This is how we can move forward. It's not about you, right? It's all about the overall organization. And I think the step you took, I think not just changed you as a person, but also had a profound impact on the overall organization. For me, I had as a first sergeant, and if you can just talk about this through your overall experience, the relationship between our first sergeant and our battalion CSM. Because my first sergeant job, I did my first sergeant job over in Alaska, 425, right, airborne unit. And the first time, if the CSM we had at the time, prior to over deploying over Afghanistan, we had a great relationship, great relationship because he had a different leadership style. We redeployed, a new CSM came in, and we kind of bumped heads to some extent. So how was your relationship and how important you think it is, right, for the first sergeant to have a good relationship with the battalion command team, even brigade command team, because it can have a huge impact on the overall organization. Because sometimes folks can get in the feelings and say, okay, because I don't like, first sergeant Edwards or first sergeant Zoker, I'm gonna make sure his units suffer. So I had to ask myself, okay, I have a new leader in place. How can I adjust to his leadership style without compromising who I am? So make sure it's not about me or the organization. So as a brigade CSN and then as a battalion CSN, as a first sergeant, how important that relationship is.
I tell you, it is crucial because if you look up the makeup of any unit, especially in the field artillery community, 92% of any organization you go to is the enlisted soldier. The
Yeah.
enlisted soldier. And so in saying that, you as a first sergeant, as a battalion CSM, as a brigade CSM, battalion and brigade being organizational leaders, first sergeant being a direct
Hmm.
level leader, it's crucial to have a relationship for a first sergeant with a battalion CSM because that battalion CSM can be able to open up your eyes to exactly what organizational leadership is all about, or should do
Yeah.
that as a battalion CSM. One, two, if you have that relationship with a battalion CSM, they're not teaching you how to be a great first sergeant. They're teaching you what's next to be a great battalion CSM, right? And I'll tell you another thing. When you have a relationship, a good relationship, if you have a good battalion CSM, you're supposed to have your finger on the pulse of the organization. The finger on the pulse. You should know everything that's going on, to include as a battalion CSM. That's how the battalion CSM stays locked in to what's going on throughout his battalion, is through first sergeants. And
Hmm.
and the thing about it is, if you make your first sergeant uncomfortable or you become across as unapproachable, when something's happening at 2 o'clock in the morning and you think I want to call sergeant major, they're not going to call you
No.
because they know what's going to happen versus you saying, hey, okay, first sergeant, I got it. You're all over it. What resources do you need? That was me as a battalion CSM, right? I gave the first sergeants left and right limits. Like, this is my wake up criteria, right? This is something that you handle, send a text with, and then we can handle it in
Yeah.
the morning. Unless it's life, limb, or eyesight, don't worry about waking me up. Just send me a text. I'll call you in. But my first sergeant didn't have a problem about letting me know what was going on because we communicated through that versus me trying to hide something and then all of a sudden it come back to bite me in the butt later, right? As a first sergeant. And so my initial relationship, like you, we had got a new sergeant major in, and he was only worried about one person and one person only. And that was himself and trying to figure out, how do I become a brigade CSM
Yeah.
versus how do I take care of the 491 Thunderbolts out here that want to be, hopefully one day, be in the position I'm in, right? As an
Hmm.
enlisted soldier. And so all of the first sergeants bumped head with him because he was only about oneself. So I took it on behalf of myself to go talk to the sergeant major and let him know, like, hey, sergeant major, like, You got to help us with this relationship with you. He's like, well, I do have a relationship. No, you don't. Right? You always talk down to us versus making us feel like we're a part of the team. You know what he told me? Sam, he told me to get the F out.
Of
He told me to
course.
get the F out. So I came out, and then he called a first sergeant meeting in like a day or two later. And he came and I have to give him his props. He said, hey, first sergeant Edwards came in here and he brought up a good point. I'm not developing y'all. I'm not listening to y'all. I'm just barking orders to y'all. And then he said, you have to excuse me. All the sergeant majors that I saw growing up, there we go. All the sergeant majors I saw growing up were to get off the grass sergeant majors. So he was
Yeah.
following suit of what he saw and not what was right. And it helped change. I mean, he ended up becoming a brigade sergeant major, but those first 6 months were tough because no one had a relationship with him. He never came and checked train. He never did. And remember, as a battalion CSM, you are the master trainer for the battalion. Never
The
came out,
organization.
sat in his office
Yeah.
the whole time, right? And he was initially, he was not a good leader, and he never gave us a good expectation of if we were to make it to be a command sergeant major at the battalion level, what we should do, right? So when I fast forward through that, when I became a battalion CSM over in 2CR, over in Germany, Vilsec, Germany, brother, I did not know what to do because no
Yeah.
one took the opportunity to teach me as a first sergeant. I didn't understand at that time leadership development goes 2 levels down. So that brigade CSM should have been helping all those first sergeants to be great, right? But
Yeah.
we didn't get none of that. We didn't get none of that development back then. And so when I initially became a battalion CSM, I'm not going to say that I struggled, but I had to take a step back and understand the difference between a direct level leader and an organizational level leader,
Organization.
right? And it took me a couple months to, because initially, I'll tell you, my first 4 to 6 months as a battalion CSM, I was the best first sergeant in that battalion. I say again, as a battalion
Oh, man.
CSM, I was
Yeah.
the best first sergeant in that battalion because when you don't know what you're doing, you go back to what you were doing well,
Yeah. Your
right?
default setting. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah. And so that's why I had to learn more about the organizational type. But once I figured it out, I'm like, aha, I got you now. I understand it. I understand about having relationships as a battalion CSM with the rest of the battalion CSMs, with the brigade CSM, the brigade command team, how important that is because they only got so many touch points with you, right,
Yeah.
throughout the year. And you got to make them great. And so that also helped me coming forward as well, Sam.
I mean, I've been out of the military 3 years now. Not sure what the glad path to CSM as far as battalion CSM. A lot of CSM struggle initially, because you go into the organizations, sometimes you may have a battalion commander already in a position. And, you may have a good battalion commander who he or she is projecting to make a brigade. They're trying to get the next promotion, the next, whatever the case may be. He or she have already created a vision statement. They're moving forward. You come on board. You're not going to derail nothing real because he or she already know exactly what they have to do to make the next rank or next position, whatever the case may be. And it comes down really, in my opinion, to real good leadership, and really, really good leadership in terms of mentorship. As a first round, I tell you, first round should be exposed to what the CSM does. Really. It took to some extent because you and I went to the academy. There's no class on how to be a CSM. It does not exist. You know what I'm saying? It's those mentors, those coaches that help you along the ways because when you get to the organization at the time CSM, you just, you're trying to learn things as you go. In terms of, okay, I understand the battalion missions because if you're no matter what your MOS is, you understand the battalion mission. We got it. But there's so many other different components of being a battalion CSM, I mean the brigade CSM. It's not just about the grass being cut. I hated that. I'm bigger than just the grass. It is an implied task. The grass is going to get cut. That's not my focus points. Like you talk about developing soldiers, creating a good command climate,
Right.
relationship with all battalion commander, expand across both outside of your organization. As we discussed battalion, I want to jump close back to the devoted CSM position as far as the brigade level CSM because now you're up there. You're battalion guy now. You're a brigade guy now. Of course, you have the division of corps for which you are communicating with. How was it for you? Because for me, my experience was different. As a brigade CS, and I went to an organization that never existed. We had to build from scratch. So it was a little bit different for me. When you took over as a brigade CSM, I mean, it was different as far as composition. I believe the battalion was still under those infantry brigade directly, or because you had the volley right, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It was, I don't know how the volley was overall constructed. But in terms of you being leaders now, you have other sergeant majors that are in those respective battalion. Now you're not dealing with the first sergeant anymore. You got different CSN at the battalion level. How was your relationship with them, and how was your relationship with that brigade commander? Because now it's completely different in terms of moving the brigade forward?
Yeah. So another great question. I will tell you, I had an amazing job as a brigade CSM at 4th Infantry Division Artillery. But I will tell you this: when I first got there, we did not have the artillery battalions underneath us. We had some
Yeah.
other organizations underneath us, but not the field artillery battalions. And so when we would go up to division meetings with all the rest of the brigade sergeant majors and their BCT sergeant majors, and they got 3,600, 4,000, right? Initially, they tried to demoralize what we were doing because they were looking at
Yeah.
sortie numbers. But what they failed to understand was something called impact. And when you have impact across a whole community, across a whole installation, it's bigger than just 4,000, right? It's
Just
bigger.
numbers. Yeah.
And then every FA battalion I treated as if they belonged to 4ID Vardy. And so every BCT sergeant major knew, what do you want? Do you want the shiny red Corvette or you want the beat up Chevy Impala, right? If you want the shiny red Corvette, let me do my thing with respects to training, leading, developing, and you'll get the shiny red Corvette, right? But if you don't, you could see some folks struggle. Out of the 6 battalion CSMs that I had one that struggled. I had one that struggled a lot because he just didn't understand the difference from going from direct to organizational leadership. And so I spent a lot of time trying to develop him to understand the bigger picture, right? And so that took a lot of my time doing that. But then this is what made it so awesome. So as a DeVarty sergeant major, now I got all the field artillery first sergeants and master sergeants across the whole installation. And you are the senior FA person on the installation. So guess what? When you talk about development and first sergeants and master sergeants, like when I grew up in the Army, you saw the DeVarty sergeant major, you were gone. You went the other way.
You get your butt chewed or something. Something went wrong somewhere. If you're in the red carpet, something went wrong.
These first sergeants and master sergeants would invite me out to their command and staff, invite me out because they knew that I'm here to develop you, not tear you down. And if you weren't doing something right, like if I talked to the battalion CSM and he said, hey man, First Sergeant Zoker's struggling, I got it, right? And so I'll go down and talk to him because what people don't understand is first sergeants are people too, right? They might have stuff going on at home. I know they're taking care of anywhere from 100 to 200 people every day, all day, and their families, right? They might have some things going on. So we had this relationship that was just, it's crazy as I think about it to this day, because now some of them are sergeant majors and they're sending me their coins. I'm retired. They're like, sergeant major, if it wasn't for you, I said, no, you were going to be there no matter what. I just helped guide you, right? I just helped you know what the left and right limits look like, right? We used to call that a safety tee. You know what a safety tee is, right? So we call that the safety tee, right? You need to know what your min and max quadrant, your left and right deflection is, right?
Me.
And so that's what I did with them. And I brought them in so much where everybody knew everything. Everybody knew each other. And it wasn't like, I just know the people in my battalion. But then most importantly, I made them share. I made them share. So if First Sergeant Z came up with a product that helped with awards, we had a chat line, an email. Hey, I'm just sharing with everybody. I just developed this. It's helped me out with my awards. To everybody. So now I'm not just looking out for oneself. I'm looking out for the betterment of the team because they know that's what Jelani Edwards preached. Team, 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 team. We all on the same team. We all rowing in the same direction. And I tell you, what happened was every single one of those first sergeants got so close. Man, it was ridiculous. Like looking at them work because if one first sergeant wasn't, they would help that first sergeant. They would bring them along with me to help them get where they were. I'm telling you, it was powerful, man. But like you said, those initial BCT sergeant majors were a little rough at first, but once they understood the impact, they was like, oh man, Jelani, I get it now. I see why when the division sergeant major comes in, he goes, hey, go talk to Jelani. He'll help you out. Because they knew I had some BCT time as well, right? And some division time as well. So, I had the full gamut of exposure, at different type of leadership positions. So it helped me out immensely.
Yeah, but man, that's something I always, as far as trying to preach, man, it's not about an individual, right? There are going to be some level of internal competition. It's going to happen. If everybody want to be the first, the top, top battalion here and there, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, it's all about organization. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
You guys sharing, product and sharing as far as ideas and bringing folks in. For me, I try to create an overall avenue to where, and some of my battalion CSM was kind of upset with me. The Army have an open door policy. but it's not an open door policy, right? If Jelani ever want to talk
Yeah,
to
that's right.
CSN, he has to go through 5, 6, 7, 8 questions. I told him, I said, no. If a soldier want to talk to me, let him come and talk to me. If for some reason he
That's
said he
right.
want to come and talk to me, that means he don't want to talk to you. So don't bring him in your office trying to waterboard him or her, ask why you. No. Let him come and talk to me, because for the matter of fact, it is your job to make sure he want to talk to you. You got to create that atmosphere. So what you did, I'm telling you, I wish a lot of citizens was doing it in terms of creating that avenue or just that climate for where folks can communicate across the board, understand the overall command, overall vision in terms of what the brigade is trying to go. So you serve as a brigade devoted CSM, and then you transition to the nominative realm. I want to just explore that area just for a little bit, if you don't mind. So
Sure.
we both went through the nominative process. I have some issue with it, and I'm gonna tell you why. You know, we have the best general officers across the globe, no matter what. No matter what. My issue with the nominative process, is that as a battalion CSM, as a brigade CSM, as an enlisted, you have never, ever in your career interviewed for a job. Never. you know. So now you're a nominative guy in terms of, so now you have to interview for a job. You have not been prepared. Now you have to prepare yourself in terms of talking to the senior level CS and say, hey, man, this is how it goes. This is what you should say, whatever the case may be. As you know, as the process works, you come on the list and then you receive an email for somebody to say, congratulations, you're going to be interviewing for XYZ job. And now the stress begins. So you got to go back, do your research, learn all about it. Whatever. My issue with it here is, why is it the nominative selection process not being the same as the CSF process? Why am I interviewing for a job? Why is it we're not all being on the same footing as far as competing in terms of the same with the CSF process, the CSM over selected, whatever. The general officer have all right to select the sergeant major, but why is it is so different? I mean, I'm trying to get something to Cosby here to explain it to me. Why is it we're not allowing that senior sergeant major panel to select CSM for a position, for another position that comes available, compared to I'm interviewing for a job through a general officer? Do I work for that general officer, or do I work for the Army itself? The process is fair. I'm not questioning it, as far as if the process is not fair or not. But just my experience so far as in terms of, because you went through some interview I went through, from my experience, that general officer already made up his mind who he or she was going to select. In my view, it's just me personally. I'm not going to hold back and try to hide anything from it. He has all right to do it, but is that fair, really? Compared to a position comes open so far, CSM meet, senior level CSM meet, look at each of the packet, and then select the best guy, best girl for the job. It's just my opinion. I know yours is different, but I'm turning the floor over to you. What was your experience so far going through the nominative process? And we can talk about the position for which you're serving over the Mission Convention of Excellence.
Yeah, so another great question. So the nominative process to me is a little wonky, right? Number one, it's really dark. So they say when you receive that email that you're going to be interviewing, you can't tell anybody. You can only tell your senior mission commander. It's just dark. Considering that I had an opportunity to be in the room as it actually happens, and I'll let you know. Like, it's like, first of all, if we go back to what you were saying, that means every one of these commands that we get selected to go to, they're getting the best folks. So that means we might need to lessen up the pool at the nominative and just get the best folks to go in those positions, which I like. I like that idea. But what happens is all these folks make the nominative pool. That does not mean you're going to get an interview. And I thank you for helping me out when it was time for me to do my interview. How you sat down and talked to me about it. I truly appreciate that to you. And I'm humble to you for that too. But when they get in that room with those 3 and 4 star level sergeant majors, that general officer comes and says, hey, this is what I want out of my battle buddy. I want him to be X, Y, Z. And so what happens was the Army G1 will put up on the screen, these are the 50 people that meet that criteria right now. And now they have to get that 50 people down to 5. And so that's where it's tough, because everybody has, for the most part, the same things on their record: number 1, number 2, MQ. Everybody's got that. But I will tell you, and I know this to be fact, it's all about who do you know. It's all about the connections. It's all about the relationships.
Yeah.
If your core sergeant major or your force combat trade-off sergeant major don't have you, you don't know them, it's going to be tough for you to even get a seat to get
not advocating
interview.
for you. Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah.
because they have to vouch for you, and that's exactly what they do when them sergeant major. They're like, hey, who knows Zoker? Oh, I know Zoker. Hey, Zoker's a high performer. He does this and that. Okay, got it. Who knows Edwards? Nobody. All right, go to the next. That's exactly how it is. And then it goes from like 50 down to like 15, 15 down to 8, 8 down to 5. And then that's when that GO will receive the packet with all of our information, baseball cards, all that good stuff. But now that I had an opportunity to be in it at the 2-star level and truly understand it, a lot of those GOs already have their mind made up on who they want to pick. A lot of times it's another GO that reaches out to that GO that says, hey, Zoker, that's your guy. Because all these general officers know each other one way or the other.
Yeah, they talk.
They all know each other or know
Absolutely.
of each other. And so if a 3-star calls a 1-star or a 2-star and say, Zoker's your guy, 9 times out of 10, Zoker's your guy. Right. And so for us field artillerymen, it's always harder because there's only certain slots that are FA. The commandant, which is now going to go to a 06 position, no longer a brigadier general position. The commandant, what Fluhart is in right now. Yeah. And then you got FCO, right? And then you start looking around like, okay, what else for us? Like,
yeah, because FCO is both 88 and FA. Because FCO, remember, is both 88 and FA. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got Command Sergeant Major Ricky Jackson, a great friend of mine. He's overseas fighting a good fight at strategic fires, right? And that will always be an FA position. But other than that, so now you got 16 CSMs or sergeant majors that made the nominative level, named the nominative list, with only really maybe a position and a half really available. So now what do we do with these other folks? So what they tend to like to do with us is put us in those G3 positions, right?
The operation position.
To get the operations sergeant major, to get your name and your face out there. And so I think we could absolutely get better with that, because a lot of us FA guys are very, very talented, but we're not like the infantry. So the infantry knows everybody because infantry runs the army. But the moment you let an artilleryman go into something like that and they perform, they look back and go, wow. Right. And so it goes back to my last position at Mission Command Center of Excellence, where we focused on all things Army leadership. We created a brand new counseling statement, right, from the last SMA. Like I told him, I said, hey, SMA, like the last council statement was 1986. Like we are so far behind on times. I'm thinking about the team creating a new council statement. What? He was like, you think you can do that? Absolutely, we can do it. Right. And I just ride the coattails of the team because we had 10 divisions all through Mission Command Center of Excellence. We touched a lot of things, but mainly it was Army leadership and the Army leadership's requirements model, things of that nature, right? FM 6-0, Army, like that's where we were focused at. And in my time, like when I first got to Mission Command Center of Excellence, my battle buddy, General Mazarakia, he said, hey, I want you to read this FM tonight and tomorrow. Let me know what you think about it. What? The whole thing tonight?
Yeah, the whole thing.
I was like, sir, I'm not going to read that. I'm not going to read that whole thing. I can tell you that right now. But give me a couple weeks. I'll read through it and provide you information. He was like, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Jelani, you're right. So I read it. And when I talked to him about it, he's like, how did you like it? I said, I didn't like it. And he got pale. Like his face got pale. He's like, you know how much work we put into that? I said, I acknowledge that. But the problem is, when you release this book, who's going to be the primary reader of this book? E5 through the E7. Excuse me, I hate to use pay grades. Sergeants through sergeant first class are going to be the main ones using this. And right now, from an academia perspective, it's too much wordage in this thing, right? And so they're going to start reading and go, I don't want to read no more. I don't know what it's saying. And they're going to. Now, if you ask a captain or a major, yeah, they got it all day. But who's the primary user? And he said, oh my God, I did not think about it like that. And so we had the team go back to the drawing board. The team was not happy with me. The team initially was not happy with me as a new guy coming in, kind of making some changes. But once we made them, they was like, you know what, Jelani Edwards, and that was actually spot on, right? And that's how we, as enlisted soldiers, we're retired now. That's how we make our impact for these officers, right? Yeah. They have to know that, number one, we got their back. We've already established trust, but you're going to do right by the organization and right by the whole collective team. And so being at Mission Command Center of Excellence, like, opened my eyes up to big Army. We always hear the term big Army, but when I got there, I was able to kind of see it writ large. And I will tell you, that's who actually runs the Army, is on the NOM side of the house. They do some great things. And I want to talk to you about a time I had an opportunity to go brief at the academy, Sergeant Major Academy. I'd never thought in a million years that I would ever go back to the master bedroom to be a briefer.
Master bedroom, right?
And so as I'm talking to those almost 700 soon to be, master sergeant, soon to be sergeant major, one of the things I told them that a lot of them end up, coming back to me saying thank you was, it's too much competition out there. Never compete against the person to your left or right. Compete against the standard. And they always like, what? I said, let me help you out. Have you ever seen a battalion where everybody passed height weight? Have you seen a battalion where everybody passed their PT test? Have you seen a battalion that everybody passed with their weapons qual? Compete against the standard. Don't compete against the person to your left and right and the name and the positions. Teach, train. If you do that, I promise you, you will be successful. Compete against the standard.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing, man. You just highlighted something that I want to explore just for a quick second here. When that general officer gave you that manual, say, hey, go home and take at least, read it tonight and bring it back. You came back, you said, sir, it's not going to happen. His ability to fully understand, say, okay, I got you, Simon, take your time, get back with me. One thing that we don't talk about, is the amazing general officers and senior officers we have within the Army. I've been very fortunate to really observe those guys and girls, amazing men and women who are in position, changing lives. For you serving at the 2-star level, how was your relationship with your general officer? How did that impact you and the overall organization?
Amazing. I had two of them, right? So when I first got there, General Mavs was getting ready to retire. And I will tell you, there's no general by happenstance. All of them are really good. Because you got to think especially from a field artillery community, right? So how many FA brigade positions there are, and maybe one of them might become a general officer. Maybe one might come. So it's really tough. So my second GO, Jason Slider, he was the only civil affairs general officer in the Army. And he was absolutely amazing. But what I love most about him, because I didn't know going in, I know how the type A personalities we see. I didn't know how he was going to react to that initially, but he supported his sergeant major through and through. He made sure that before he made any decision, he ran it through me, or his XO would come get me and say, hey, the boss needs to talk to you about this. He would not make a decision without talking to his sergeant major first. And because he trusted me and he knew I was going to give him genuine, authentic guidance from my side of the house, right? And also what he loved about me was the fact that if you make it up to the nominative side of the house, you don't have a commander saying, hey, Sergeant Major, you might want to, can you take a look at this for me? You have to be able to be in a meeting, understanding where you can just be great, and then capturing it, and then being engaged and locked in and going, keeping your GO brief the whole way through, right? And attacking it, right? And highlighting and my thing was, I wanted to highlight the greatness that Mission Command Center of Excellence did. So my first year, I was TDY 200 days a year. It sounds like a lot, but I was trying to push what we were doing at Mission Command Center of Excellence. I wanted to push leadership and give people vignettes of what good command teams look like, what bad command teams look like, with substance. Because at my position, I got a chance to see everything. If a GO was being relieved, if a sergeant major was getting relieved, and what it was, I got a chance to see it all, right? And when you get a chance to see it all, it helps you as you go out in the force and you're talking about certain things, so people can understand, right? And about how many people get relieved in a year, how many sergeant majors get relieved, how many 06s, 05s in the battalion get relieved in a year. You'd be surprised that number is higher than what most people think. And that's because you get to a place where they feel untouchable, right? I'm the battalion CSM. Nobody outranks me. I'm not going to go take this PT test. I'm not going to take this height weight. I'm not going to do none of this stuff because I'm the battalion CSM, right? And you got to remember, everybody lives in a glass house. When you make it up to that level, you live in a glass house. Everybody's watching your every move. And the moment you do that, guess what? Somebody's going to report it up. And then you're going to end up getting relieved. And so I was out a lot because I wanted to stay locked in with the Army on what we were doing and how we push the envelope a little bit and make leadership fun, but at the same time getting back to the basics of leadership, which is one, knowing your soldiers, knowing them inside and out. Remember back in the day, we used to carry around leaders' books, right? Back in the day,
the green one, the green one stuff.
That's right,
and the big one.
That's right. Where you had to show what you knew about your soldier, right? And so that's what we had to get back to.
Yeah. You just made a point, right, in terms of how that general officer, before every major, as far as decision, he talked to you about it, right? And it comes down to just your competency, because for that leader, really, an officer, no matter what level they are, to come to you to seek somewhat of a counsel or ask for your recommendation or whatever you say, you have to demonstrate your level overall as far as competence. If you ain't competent sergeant major or non-commissioned officer, he's not going to ask you for nothing. So don't complain
Not at that
about it.
level.
It's just a food for thought. You have to make sure that you are up to par. And I tell folks, for CSM, man, you have to read, you have to educate yourself. You have to be somewhere on the same footing as that general officer or that senior as far as officer, to where you can at least have a clear understanding in terms of what's going around you. It's not about just, the grass being cut. No, 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 no. You got to think from a strategic level point to understand exactly what's going on. How can you be value added to the subject matter being discussed? So 29 years, nominative level, you say as much to yourself, man, I've done it all. Now it's time for me to transition now. Some things, again, somewhere it's going to happen, right there, folks. Transition out of the military is inevitable. Or we're gonna experience it. So what was it like for you to say, it's time for me to transition? How was your transition over into the civilian sector?
Yeah, so initially it was a little nervous, right? Because your whole adult life, all you did was Army. That's what you know. That's what you've been doing. And so when it was time for me to retire, I took 7 months off. I did because, and I know you can attest to this. Unlike officers, if you're a command sergeant major, you go straight from battalion, brigade. There's no break for you, right? And you're just going, just going hard in the paint, right? And so once I came out of this last position, I took 6-7 months off just to know who Jelani was. Like, I need to find Jelani again, not Sergeant Major Edwards, Jelani, right? And so what I did was, I just spent more time with my kids. I spent more time with my wife, and I just enjoyed my family, because we all talk about time management and all that stuff, work-life balance. But at the end of the day, when you're in positions like us, you're grinding a lot still. And so it gave me an opportunity to get to know my children a lot better than I knew them before. Well, I thought I knew them before, but get to know them a little bit better. But once I started looking for a position, I wanted to find something that had my purpose. Because without my purpose, I made some good financial decisions coming through, so I didn't really have to go to work unless I wanted to work. And so when I wanted to work, I'm like, you know what, it's going to fit my purpose, and my purpose is taking care of people, right? So I inquired about a position at the state for VA, but I'm gonna rewind back a little bit. So when I first started putting out my resume, I got a couple interviews, in the Charlotte area, but they saw sergeant major or senior listed advisor in my resume, and they wanted me to come in there and just fire people. And that's not who I am to my core. The person that I am, I'm going to develop them, because I believe that no one comes to work just to do bad, no one to do wrong. I'll take the time to develop them. Now, if they can't get right, then I understand that. But I'm not just going to come to an organization and just fire people, right? And so I did those interviews. They gave me an offer letter. I denied their offer letter, which was making really good money. And then I ended up getting an interview with the South Carolina Department of Veteran Affairs. And they wanted me to become, the position was for the Midlands Regional Integration Officer. Like you said when we first started talking, large title. But what that means is, in the state of South Carolina, I have 11 counties where I service. And what I do is I go talk to federal, state entities, CEOs, COOs, nonprofit organizations. And what I do is figure out, what can you do for veterans that's the phenomenal, proud veterans of South Carolina? What can you do for free, right? Because they're always like, hey, you give us 25,000, we can do. No, what can you do for free to help us? And like, take for instance, last week I was with Verizon, the CEO for Verizon here in South Carolina, and she had our old staff out there, and she was like, hey, we want to do something for veterans. I said, well, if you want to do something for veterans, how about you employ us? Right? Employ veterans. Let me tell you what you're going to get out of a veteran. And I kind of laid it all down about teamwork, followership, leadership, being engaged, being a good teammate. Oh, and they was like, Jelani, we would like to do that. And so what we did was, and on Verizon here in South Carolina, was, if you was to go now and apply for a Verizon job, there's now a veteran preference in there where you can click, which is going to take you all the way up to the top of the list to at least get you an interview. I'm not saying it's going to get you the job, but at least get you an interview, right? One. And as I go out and I talk to folks, as people tend to transition, especially us senior folks, that think they're going to go into a 6-figure job, that's not for it. You got to get your foot in the door. And so sometimes you got to take a position that's a little lower than what you think, and then grind, and they see your work ethic, see what you bring, and then you'll work your way up. Because when you're great, you're great. No one can stop greatness, and everybody will see it. right? And I wish
Yeah.
other senior leaders will understand that too, and kind of get off that high horse and understand, like, hey, boom. Now, I feel like I'm getting paid really good money, but at the same time, I'm doing my purpose. I'm
Purpose.
doing my purpose, and which is taking care of people and taking care of our veterans in South Carolina. And so every day, I hear a veteran that's what we label as misfiring, and then they finally get the resources that they need from the South Carolina Department of Veteran Affairs. It's amazing. It's amazing. And they come back and they just like, thank you. We were going to be homeless tomorrow, but you got us a
Mm.
house, a place to live at.
Yeah.
It's amazing, right? And so I love the job that I'm in. I love meeting veterans where they're at, and I guess, like I said, it fits my passion.
So that's something a lot of folks don't see, man, in terms of how the VA works from the federal side and the state side, in terms of those employee comes to work every day to make as far as veteran life better. They see all this as far as the bad news, whatever the case may be. Because when I worked out there at the VA so far, I saw firsthand how those men and women comes to work every day in terms of both at the state and federal level to just make veteran and their life and the family life better. So I appreciate what you're doing over there, man. As we
Thank you.
depart, man, just want to ask a couple of questions in terms of for folks who are currently serving, right? Because you serve as far as enlisted from E1 went to a nominative level. What are some advice can you give, folks who are currently serving, at every level, even up to the nominative levels, from a sergeant, a staff sergeant, a corporal, whatever the case may be, in terms of, we all have a different path, a different story, and different command climates. But overall, what are some advice can you give the folks who are currently serving and folks who may contemplate serving? Because a lot of folks know about the military, but they have no idea how the military work, But what are some advice can you put out there to folks who say, hey, man, this is what my story, this is my path, this is some things I can provide for you guys in terms of recommendation?
Yeah. So that goes back to my slogan that I used ever since I was a first sergeant. And my wife told me I was a bully. And it's don't be good, be great. If you look at any of my signature blocks, I've always had it when I was in the military, and it's something that I talk to even in Mission Command Center of Excellence while I'm going through, talking everywhere. And I say, don't be good, be great. The only thing that's stopping a person from being great is themselves. So never come to work with the intentions of being good. Come to work with the intentions of being great every single day, giving 100% and leading and make leading fun. Right?
Yeah.
Make leading fun, right? And always do your best to be the most competent person there, because knowledge is power. No one can take knowledge from you. So don't be scared to learn. Don't be scared to open up a book and read instead of listening what someone says the standard is. Because once you read it out of a book and understand, that's the standard, not
Hmm.
hearsay, right? And if you do that, I promise you, you will be successful in the United States. You will be successful anywhere if you go in and you just be great every single day and give effort, give everything that you have every single day to those folks. Because what a lot of leaders don't understand is your soldiers are watching you. You live in that glass house, so they want to be like you. And so if you're
Yeah.
not showing them what right looks like, they're going to be just like that with their soldiers, right? So don't be good, be great, right? And it's okay if you need help, because a lot of leaders struggle. A lot of legal
Hmm.
struggles. A lot of leaders struggle with things. It's okay to go get help. I was one of the first people to raise my hand and say, hey, teammates, I'm letting y'all know right now, I'm going to counseling, right? When we got back from Afghanistan, I seen some things out there, and I tell everybody, you might want to go get the help that you need as well. And what happens is it gets looked at as a burden, or I don't want to get,
Yeah.
no,
Sign
go
of
to
weakness or
behavioral health,
something.
get that,
Yeah.
because it's going to make you a better person. It's going to make you a better leader for your soldiers, right? So again, it all goes back to the slogan: don't be good, be great every day.
I appreciate you, brother. I'm going to have to bring you back here another time to discuss as far as just the nature of combat operation deployment. Some we don't talk about. I mean, I know some things we can discuss based on classification and all that, but just to discuss in terms of what deployment is all about, right? Because sometimes we deploy, nobody knows exactly what's going on from your day-to-day operation. I really appreciate you, man. Thanks for what you and your team doing over at the VA on the state side, working as far as the federal side to make our veterans and their family life better, man. I really appreciate what you're doing. Thanks for coming on tonight, guy. And any last comment before we kind of log off here? Shoot the live fire mission down range.
That's it. Hey, Sam, I just want to tell you, we followed each other our whole Army careers. You have always been a key person in the field artillery community. Your name rings volumes. And I've always looked up to you, even though we were doing it at the same time. And a lot of leaders won't say that. A lot of leaders won't say that about another leader because of their pride. I will
Same here,
say it.
brother. Same here.
You and Ricky Jackson, even though we were all peers, I knew of y'all. And I tell you, I appreciate you. I appreciate your leadership. I appreciate what you're doing on your podcast. So hopefully some soldiers and some leaders can come on and understand exactly what we're trying to do, which is give back to you. And I thank you, brother. I do. I thank you. And you always got a friend in me. You always got a friend in me.
I got you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Again, thanks for coming on, brother. I really appreciate you, man.
Will do.